The BMC AMZ Talk and CompuWare Modern Mainframe podcasts have joined forces. You can find your favorite episodes from both podcasts, as well as new insight and discussion at soundcloud.com/modern mainframe. CompuWare is now BMC CompuWare, providing a complete app dev toolkit which enables you to make the mainframe as adaptive as any other platform and start your journey to becoming an autonomous digital enterprise with a mainframe-inclusive DevOps toolchain. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Mainframe. I'm your host, Matt Dallaire. Joining me today is CompuWare Executive DevOps Solution Architect, Rick Slade. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. So you're here to talk about a new program we're launching, Building a Better Software Delivery Platform. We'll have a series of podcasts and Q&A sessions that'll help people chart a course to start modernizing their software delivery systems. Now, you've been helping organizations modernize their software platforms to maximize efficiency without sacrificing quality. And you'll be going through some of the disciplines and methods by which organizations around the world are doing that. We'll have a podcast posted each Monday with a follow-up Q&A session that Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The title of that is Office Hour with Rick Slade. And then the following week, we will have a recap blog post about the podcast and the Q&A. So the idea here is to take Agile and DevOps techniques that are used to deliver high-quality software and apply them to the software delivery system. So can you tell us a little more about yourself, your experience, and how you've helped companies implement these systems?
Yeah, glad to, Matt. I hope I don't bore people with that, my background, but I've been doing this for, this is my 40th year in doing this type of work or working in IT, developing software, designing software. It's something I truly have a passion about. I started in 1980 as an operations guy at a university I was at. And then my first work was building or coding assembler, some COBOL work for a company called MSA back in the early 80s, where we built large mainframe systems, business systems, general ledger, accounts receivable, manufacturing systems. So a lot of background in software development. My formative years, first 10 years, were as a developer, supporting multiple languages, multiple databases, multiple telecommunications processors back in the early days. And so I had a good background in building software, in supporting all of those different platforms and different software subsystems. I got real good training in the proper development of software. MSA was a great place to start your career. So did that for like I said, about 10 years. Company decided to move to Minneapolis, and of course, with this accent, I had no intentions of moving to the cold north, although as beautiful as it is. So I went to work for Haynes Corporation in Winston-Salem, and there I had probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. I was in charge of new technologies to support software development. And great opportunity to learn, because my responsibilities were looking at new tools, new capabilities to expedite, to help developers be more efficient, to be able to produce faster without sacrificing quality. It was a great place to play with different technologies, play with different toys, software to help developers. And so I did that for a couple of years. Left there to help Micro Focus back in early 90s, began a consulting organization for them, helping to take those technologies and skills to their customers, helping to be more productive. Did that for a few years, and long story short, started a company with some friends back in the early 90s. I actually created an addition to an existing company. We sold that company to Hewlett Packard back in 2003. Worked at HP for a few years, leading their efforts with regard to software modernization, where we weren't necessarily modernizing how software was developed, but we were modernizing the existing stacks, software stacks, business stacks that organization were leveraging. So great experience there in the re-engineering, modernization of software effort. From there, I went to IBM, spent some time with IBM, about 10 years. Great time, great experience, and doing essentially what I have been doing for CompuWare the last 3 years. And that was helping organizations evolve, is the term I like to use, their software delivery efforts for companies around the world. Traveled quite a bit over the last 20 years, again, helping organizations find better ways to build software. And so we've done a lot of different things, leveraging process change as in Agile and better ways to manage software. We'll be talking about that in this series, a podcast series, helping organizations leverage new technologies to expedite the delivery of software. And we'll talk about some of those today and in a lot more detail as we move into new episodes of this podcast. I'm looking forward to it, Matt.
That's great. So am I. And it sounds like you have a lot of experience to draw on the subject, and a lot of good insights into how best companies can put this forward. So our topic. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think so, and I appreciate that. It's something I actually have a very strong passion for. Right? I grew up on a farm, and so one of my first experiences with regard to efficiency were helping my dad figure out better ways to take our farm harvest products back to the barns where subsequent work was done, and helping to figure out better ways to expedite that process. And so my love for finding inefficiency and resolving those problems started at a very early age.
Right. It's great that you can take other experiences and apply them.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun 40 years. Growing up like I did made adulthood very easy. I have absolutely loved working in software, developing software, and now helping clients do a better job of producing high quality software, hopefully in a more efficient manner.
Well, our topic today is the key characteristics of a modern enterprise software delivery platform. So how would you define a modern platform versus what organizations may have had in the past or what they have in place now?
Well, I've been doing this for the last few years. I think there's what I have determined and what I believe is there's certain characteristics, Matt, that are key to effective software delivery. And a lot of those characteristics have evolved over different platforms. If you think about the use of Agile and iterative techniques, automation and integration with technologies, a lot of this is the evolution of software development over a 30-year period. And we've learned some things. Unfortunately, on the mainframe, we are just beginning, I think, to start to leverage a lot of the techniques that have been used outside the mainframe for 10, 15 years. Those techniques, people have seen the benefits of those techniques, those methods, those disciplines, those technologies, and we're starting to see those become available. Actually, it's why I came to CompuWare. I thought CompuWare, when I came here, had the best vision, the best strategy for helping organizations to take advantage of these technologies and of these processes, and it's worked out well. But there's some key things that I think that just define what I want to call good software development, not necessarily modern software development, but just good software development. I think that I've told this to many clients in the past, that a lot of these characteristics that are being leveraged today as the best way to do things, good developers have been doing these things for a long, long time. We just didn't label them with the labels that are assigned to them today. But key characteristics that I see, and I won't go into a lot of detail on these today. We're going to go in and touch on these in our subsequent episodes to talk about each of these in more detail. But I wanted to mention them today to get people thinking about, so what is prevalent in an organization that's effective in software delivery. First, I think, and these are in no specific order, but the first thing is that I think a modern ID is absolutely critical, and it's not for the reasons that many people might think. Yeah, I do believe it's a more productive environment in which to develop code and test code. I think that you can, when you think about all the work that's required to develop software, there's a lot of moving components to that. There's the editing, management of the code. There's the manipulation of test data. There's the build process. There's the deploy process. There's a lot of things that are going on in that software delivery process. And I think the modern graphical IDE gives you the ability to execute on all of those things simultaneously more effectively. And so I think a modern IDE is certainly more productive. But I like to think of myself as a business guy, Matt, who loves technology. And the reasons that I believe a modern IDE is critical is more business oriented than it is for any other reason. If you think about developers, there's certainly a lot of developers with the same color hair as mine that are still maintaining a lot of mainframe system code. That code we're leveraging typically in a lot of shops. We're still managing, editing, making changes to that code in the same way that I did it back in the 80s and 90s. And what's changing or what's happening is that we're starting to see some erosion of skills on the mainframe as people are starting or beginning to retire or thinking about retirement. And the folks that are going to be responsible for maintaining those systems typically did not learn how to write code, test code in a 3270 green screen environment. They grew up in Eclipse-based or graphical environments in the development of their code. And so from a business standpoint, being able to transition responsibility for the maintenance of existing code, and that code's not going away in the short term, even if people think about moving away from the platform, which I would advise against. Even if they're thinking about that, that's going to be a long process due to the complexity and scalability of the systems that are in place. So if you think about who's going to maintain that code, make changes to that code as business dictates or as compliance reasons dictate, you want to be able to leverage resources that may not have a 3270 or a green screen background. And so by leveraging or using a modern IDE, similar or just like that developers today are using on non-mainframe code development, it just makes for an easier transition. Not only easier, but it's more cost effective. You can reduce the learning curve required to become proficient in that environment, and that lowers your cost. So from a business standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world for organizations to start looking at modern IDEs as they begin to transition responsibility and accountability for these existing code bases to people that are more familiar with the modern IDEs that are available in the market today. And so I think that's the primary reason organizations need to be looking at transferring to more modern graphical IDEs. Yeah, it's more productive, but it's also going to reduce your cost and reduce your onboarding time for bringing in new resources who can maintain this code base that's so critical to the organization. So I think that's one thing, the modern ID, and we'll get into more details on that in subsequent episodes. I think another key characteristic is Agile and being able to leverage iterative techniques, lean techniques, managing software development projects, using Agile is absolutely key. 20 years ago, you would ask me if Agile wasn't really, you didn't see that much of it, but if we're used, then most people, especially people like myself who were involved in large enterprise software developments, would look at Agile as a way to experiment or to support the development of non-mission critical or non-enterprise class applications. Well, my mind has certainly changed over that. 10 years ago, I would tell you that yeah, there's opportunities to leverage Agile and there are opportunities to leverage Waterfall, and both have their place. You asked me that today, Matt, and I am clearly in the Agile camp. It's just a better way to build software, to build quality software. And again, the reasons for me are more business oriented than they are technical. I think from a time management standpoint, Agile is just a more efficient, effective way to build code, to make changes to code, because I think you can minimize significantly time in rework, and certainly time in defining requirements early in the process. So I think there are tremendous time savings to be gained leveraging Agile techniques. More than just time, I think we can produce a higher quality product. I know that in many projects, you're leveraging traditional waterfall approaches. There's a significant amount of rework, and unfortunately, typically that rework is done under very tight time constraints at the end of a project, where we're having to patch and we're having to add fixes that may not be ideal from an architectural standpoint, but we're caught on time because of some time constraint that's been defined based on that waterfall project approach. So I think that leveraging Agile, building software in smaller increments, smaller batches, actually has a significant impact on the quality of what code we produce. Another characteristic: continuous integration, continuous delivery. A lot of talk about what that is, and we'll get into details on that in, again, future episodes. But I think that's critical. Developers being able to apply their changes on a periodic basis, whether it's hourly or daily or whatever makes sense for your organization, having an infrastructure to support the addition of code on a frequent basis is absolutely critical to improved efficiency, improved velocity, and improved quality of software development these days. And I think that's absolutely critical. Automation may be the most important of modern software or evolved software development characteristics. For years, we have delivered software leveraging manual techniques. These manual techniques quite often have worked very well, but you're typically dependent upon the skills of the staff and of the best and brightest within your organization. One of the things that I like to tell folks about automation is that, yes, it's going to be faster, but the real benefit it provides to organization is its ability to take the best of what you do from a process standpoint and to codify that so that you can exercise or execute that process every time change or additions are applied. And that has a tremendous impact on the quality of what you're producing. And automation, it's not just about testing and deployment, which is where most of the work is these days, but it's about looking at all of the processes and all of the activities within that software development lifecycle and determining where there are opportunities for automation. Again, it's not just in testing and deployment. There are opportunities within that process, within that SDLC, around impact analysis. There are opportunities around coding. And there's certainly opportunities around gating and monitoring those existing systems. So automation, if not the most important, certainly one of the top. There's this term being leveraged today called shift left. I think that is another key characteristic or method, discipline that we're seeing that makes a difference and is critical, I think, to modern effective software delivery. Shift left is no more than building a development infrastructure that allows you to identify problems as soon as possible and to resolve those problems as quick as possible. Shift left just comes from looking at the software development lifecycle in a linear fashion and doing the work necessary to identify problems as early in that process or on the left side of that linear line as possible. And the reasons are, again, more business than they are technical. Your ability or the ability to control cost and control risk is much more favorable if you can find and resolve problems early in the process. Too many times we hasten to get software out the door, and then problems are identified and resolved in production, which is absolutely the most costly place to manage that change, and it certainly introduces risk into your organization as well. Test data management. I think this it ranks up there with automation. We've got, if we're going to leverage Agile, and if we're going to leverage automation, test data management is absolutely critical to support the automation of your software delivery pipeline activities. If you think about the provisioning and of their testing environments and your test data, doing that manual is very time consuming and quite honestly wrought with the opportunities for failure. I think organizations, as they start to leverage automation, are going to be dependent upon test data that can be easily and quickly provisioned to support the automation of testing. And so test data management, I think, will become one of the key requirements for high velocity software delivery. Another key characteristic is collaboration. We spend way too much time, or in the past, we spent way too much time in this industry in status meetings and preparing status reports to effectively communicate the work of one group or one individual to others, so to support a smooth rollout. We've got to embrace technologies like Jira and others that provide real-time information to all invested stakeholders in that software delivery process in real time. Those technologies are critical to providing the information needed by designers, by testers, by developers, by operations staff. If everyone who's involved and is a stakeholder in that software delivery process has available information to them during or as that process is being executed, the better prepared they can be with regard to the execution of their work when time arrives. So improving collaboration, minimizing time in status meetings and time developing status reports that aren't directly impacting the software delivery effort is absolutely key. A couple more characteristics that I'll talk about briefly. Security is one that you cannot talk about modern software development without talking about security. And I won't spend a lot of time today in this, but with regards to the mainframe, it has the same security constraints that any other platform has, although, as we all know, it's probably the most secure platform for delivering software that we have. But the ability to ensure that code changes or code additions that are applied to existing systems or to new systems, we want to make sure that the capabilities that we have to assess that code are a part of that software delivery process. And there are methods, there are technologies that can be leveraged in today's software delivery architecture that can be executed automatically, and we need to make sure that the technologies that we're using today to assess and to secure our code can be leveraged in an automated fashion. And then finally, I want to talk briefly about measurement and monitoring. One of the key characteristics of good software development, modern software development, is the ability to constantly evaluate the means and the methods by which you're delivering code. The technologies, the processes, they all need to be constantly evaluated. The one thing that I do know after doing this for 40 years is that methods will change. technologies will get better. And so we want to make sure that we are collecting the information within that software delivery lifecycle that will allow managers, that will allow organizations to make the best decisions regarding the processes and the technologies used to deliver software. And the only way to do that is through constant or continuous measurement and monitoring. And I think that if we can do that, we have certainly a better way of constantly or continuously improving the software that we delivered. One other key thing that I think is important with regard to measurement and monitoring is that we've got to look for capabilities that will allow us to automatically to capture that information. I remember, as a developer years ago, that I spent a lot of time tracking different activities of work that I was doing, and of course that time is taken away from actual coding and testing. And so one of the things that I encourage my clients to do is to look for technologies that are going to produce the metrics that are critical to your organization and your goals and objectives from a software delivery standpoint. And being able to capture that information automatically, being able to present that information to the appropriate people or appropriate stakeholders in a timely fashion is absolutely critical. And it'll give your organization the ability to make adjustments within your pipelines, within your processes to, again, keep you operating as efficiently and as effectively as you can. So, just to review from a characteristic standpoint, if you're looking to build a modern, effective software delivery environment, there's some things I think are absolutely critical. A modern IDE, leveraging iterative and agile lean techniques, being able to provide for a continuous integration and a continuous delivery architecture to support constant additions to your baselines. Automation, where there is opportunity within that software delivery process to automate work, we should be taking advantage of it. Shifting left, building an infrastructure that allows organizations to find problems early and to resolve problems early. Having an effective test data management system that will allow you to stand up your testing environment and provision your test data per release will save your organization tremendous time, but it will require some time and effort. Better collaboration tools, being able to communicate real time with all stakeholders within that software development process, building security into your processes, automated or manual, and then effectively measuring and monitoring those metrics, those key performance indicators in your organization that will allow you to produce software as effectively as possible. So those are my key characteristics. Again, Matt, we're going to talk about each of these in detail in subsequent episodes, but those are what I think are key to modern or effective or good software development.
Most of these ideas, they're not only interesting, they make a lot of sense to me. And I've seen them in previous jobs where things like Agile, things like shift left methodology would really help in other industries. So it all makes a lot of sense. It seems to me that there'd be a large cultural change needed as well. How can companies go about achieving that?
That's a good question, Matt, and you're exactly right. It will require cultural change. Changing the way people work will be difficult, especially for the old gray hairs like myself who've been doing this for a long, long time, and quite honestly have been successful at it. That's one of the problems that we've got in this business is that if you think about mainframe software developers, we've got systems that have been running 30, 40 years, so telling us that we're doing it wrong is going to be a hard thing to overcome.
Right.
And to some extent, they're right. It's not about it's not about that the processes that we've leveraged in the past were wrong. It's just we've got to get faster at delivering the same type and same quality of output. And I think that the techniques that we talk about, technologies that we talked about, give us the best shot at doing that. Now, with regard to cultural change, I have a long-standing saying that I tell my customers that cultural change is not an action to be taken, but the result of actions taken. And what I mean by that is I think the best way to cause cultural change to occur is through incremental evolution or projects to begin changing the way we work, looking at the existing methods, understanding where the bottlenecks are, understanding where the gaps are, understanding where the work is being slowed down, and leveraging some of the techniques that we talked about today and we'll talk about in the future to improve upon those areas of weakness within our software delivery cycle. And so cultural change will occur as we get wins and as we start to implement change in how we get work done. And I think that, I've never believed that there is a JIRA story or an epic to change culture. Again, I think culture is the result of actions taken. And so if we can start by looking at the current methods, means by which we deliver software, and start to think about how we can improve upon that process. Again, it's an evolutionary type change, I think, that's going to occur, and I think that's been most effective in my experiences. And so if we can start to work on incorporating some of these changes in an incremental fashion, I think that will create the cultural change that modern, effective software delivery organizations are seeing.
So it's funny that you brought that up, because that's what I was thinking as well as you were explaining it, that it's not a waterfall thing. It's more through sprints and through incremental progress.
Yeah, that's going to be an episode we're going to do, Matt, in the future. One of the things that I believe in strongly is the method by which we incorporate these changes. We can leverage Agile, and we can actually leverage DevOps type techniques in the management of that software delivery lifecycle. And we'll get into that in detail, because I think that is absolutely critical. We have leveraged waterfall techniques for the incorporation of new tools ever since I've been in the business. I've been in Agile shops, and they are looking to implement a new IDE or to implement a new build or deploy tool or to automate a particular work activity. And they're leveraging waterfall techniques to implement these changes to the SDLC. And what I'm telling folks is no. Let's start to leverage the same techniques that organizations truly believe are producing higher benefit, better software. Why not incorporate those same methods into the evolution or modernization project for the software delivery lifecycle? We'll spend a whole episode shortly on managing the software delivery lifecycle as a critical business system. I wrote an article about this that was in DevOps, I think, not long ago, about treating the software delivery system, or the software delivery lifecycle platform, some would say, as you would any other critical business system with a dedicated product owner. If that software delivery system, you see that as a business application or a business system, then you want to manage it the same way that you're managing your other critical business systems, with accountability. Product owner, maybe resources, or a resource that's dedicated to the effectiveness of that system, just like you would a commercial banking system or a retail banking system, or whatever is critical within your organization. We're all learning, and I think most of us know now that software delivery is a critical component to software development within any organization, regardless of your business. If you're a FinServ or you're a manufacturer or you're a retailer, your ability to produce software for your customers, for your employees, for your partners is absolutely critical to the success of your business. Again, you don't have to be a software organization to understand those benefits. And so if you believe that, and you believe that Agile and DevOps and leveraging a lot of these techniques that we've talked about is a better way to deliver software, why is it not a better way to deliver software development? But we'll get into that in future episodes.
Well, it's a great way to think about it. So I think we've got a good start here for our series. I want to thank you for joining us today. And as you said, we'll go through a lot of this in greater detail as the weeks go by.
Hey man, I'm excited, man. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I love getting in front of clients and talking about software delivery. Gonna be a little different doing it digitally, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity and hoping people will join us.
Great, thanks. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thanks, Matt. Good coding, guys.
The BMC Amy Z Talk and CompuWare Modern Mainframe podcasts have joined forces. You can find your favorite episodes from both podcasts, as well as new insight and discussion at soundcloud.com/modern mainframe. CompuWare is now BMC CompuWare, providing a complete app dev toolkit which enables you to make the mainframe as adaptive as any other platform and start your journey to becoming an autonomous digital enterprise with a mainframe-inclusive DevOps toolchain.